How did Gaara die and survive? I've talked about some characters from Naruto who bit the dust, mentioned the first Hokage, the second Hokage, and then I thought about another Kage. How about discussing the Kage who died but survived? Gaara of the Desert, the fifth Kazekage. Let's find out what happened to him. When we take the Hokages out of the picture, I think the next Kage position people think of is the Kazekage, the Wind Shadow. Seriously, do you remember your reaction when you heard that Gaara was the Kazekage? Man, what a sensation. And I thought, imagine Gaara's power now. It must have surpassed Naruto, Sasuke, everyone. And seriously, I'd say it's impossible to hate Gaara. He was a very well-built character who had a great progression in the story. And it's crucial to mention this because we enjoy it precisely because it's addressed in the time skip. The murderous kid became a friend of Naruto, helped in the Sasuke retrieval arc, spent 3 years, and he reached the Kage position, like he achieved Naruto's dream before him. How cool is that? And well, just when we thought we'd see Gaara in action, the guy dies. What happened there? Was it a prank? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss any news. For those who remember Gaara at the end of Shippuden, it might be a bit difficult to remember him back in the classic series. That bloody kid, the genin who went on rank A missions and came out without a scratch? And he's the one who crushed Rock Lee's dreams of becoming a ninja. After all, Gaara had the option to break Lee, and he did that. And this kid was actually the core for a surprise attack by the hidden Sand Village. He and the team were working together on this attack, and the conclusion was the battle between Gaara and Naruto. That fight was really good. It was a war between the Ten-Tails Jinchuriki against the One-Tailed Jinchuriki, the kid who flunked out of the academy against the Prodigy, the secret weapon of a country. But guess what? Naruto won! The kid won and convinced Gaara that there's a different way to deal with loneliness and pain. After all, Naruto could see himself in Gaara. In short, Gaara is the Naruto who succumbed to hatred. And now it was time for change. Naruto's impact on Gaara's life was so great that he gave up being just a weapon. He wanted change and to follow a different path, to use his ability and talent for something beyond killing, protecting people. And that's why Gaara and the Sand Team went to Konoha for Sasuke's rescue. You know, that didn't work out. And then comes the time skip, 2.5 years later, and Gaara is the Kazekage, the leader and protector of the Sand Village. It's so rewarding to see Gaara in this position. But now, who would dare to face the Kazekage? Which army would be able to stand up to him? Well, this time it was only one person who dealt with him, and you all know who it is. Deidara, the Akatsuki's Bomberman. This was the moment the Akatsuki was waiting for to attack, and while Deidara used the dirtiest tricks he had to win, Gaara used all his skill to face the enemy and protect the village. It's really cool to see Gaara like this, wanting to prove that he wasn't a monster, wanting to change the bad things he did, and to better understand Naruto, whom he knew wanted to be a Kage. And in a way, Gaara had the advantage against an Akatsuki member, but at the same time he had to fight. Gaara needed to protect the village, which was right beneath this fight. And Deidara knew that. He sends a huge bomb to blow up the city, and Gaara focuses all his strength to protect the village. And that's when Gaara was defeated. A gap against Deidara and Gaara was beaten. Gaara's body was taken, and in 3 days, Shukaku was removed from Gaara. Seriously, the scenes of Gaara near death it hit deep. Seeing someone who suffered his whole childhood, who carried the guilt of killing his own mother, killing his uncle, all this mental damage turned this child into a monster. He believed he was a demon, and that's why Gaara was like that. And finally, someone reached out to him, shed light on him to do good, and the guy dies. Seriously, it's so unfair to see that. And yes, Gaara is killed in the tailed beast extraction, the ninjas summoned for the mission arrived late, and the Akatsuki got another tailed beast. But there's more. The woman who sealed Shukaku in Gaara, the mistress of poisons and puppets, Granny Chiyo, decided to give up her village to bring Gaara back. Just as she was directly responsible for Gaara becoming that monster, she uses a forbidden jutsu Kisho Tensei, the self-sacrificial resurrection. This jutsu ends up being lost forever, with the only person who knew how to use it, but Gaara managed to come back to the world of the living and continue his legacy, rewrite the wrongs he did as Kazekage.